Hey action figure fans, today we're taking a look at the only two 6.5 inch Call of Duty action figures that have been released so far, minus the SDCC exclusive Ghost figure, if I remember correctly. These are, as you can see in the bottom right corner, these are the launch editions, and I believe there are more 6.5 inch figures coming, and at some point there's like a 4 inch line coming, and I don't know what, but in this video we are going to look and see, are these figures worth it? I know I'm a little bit late. I know these have been out for just a little while, and there's lots of other videos out there. I want to give my take on it, since I just want to throw my opinion out there into the internet world here. So, but there's some things I kind of like, but there's some things I don't like. So let's open these things up. Well, actually, let's look at the packaging. On the sides, you can see this horrible digital rendering. This doesn't even look good. I mean, the body looks okay, but this face, I would not buy this figure if all I saw was this. We'll get to that later. But there you go. Got this digital rendering again, and maybe it's not digital rendering. I'm pretty sure it is. It does not look good. At least we have an accessory list. That's cool. We can flip this one around, and again, on this side, you see digital rendering. This actually looks a little bit better. And on the back, I mean, maybe it's not digital rendering. If it's not, I mean, this looks pretty nice. This looks pretty good fabric in this image. Maybe it's not, but gosh, they sure do. And if they aren't a digital image, this bothers me. This bothers me a lot. So without further ado, let's get these figures out of the box and take a closer look. So we got these figures out of their boxes, and the first thing I'm going to say is this one, looking through the lens of my camera or the view screen on my camera, this figure looks so much better than what he does here in person. Just looking at this figure, I'll be honest, I get shoulder pain. He's got some seriously broad shoulders, and he's got kind of like this Beetlejuice shrunken head. I mean, both of them kind of make me think of a Beetlejuice shrunken head. But truthfully, looking at the camera, or looking at through the lens here, or the view screen, this actually doesn't look too bad compared to in the package. But yeah, he's got, I don't know. There's just something about these figures. They remind me or make me think, and I'm sorry for anyone who loves these figures, but I'm not a huge fan as of yet. These figures remind me, the feel, the look, the articulation, because I played around with them just a little bit, make me think of 6-inch scaled 80s the core figures versus G.I. Joe Classified, we'll say. I mean, that's not really a fair comparison. Now, one thing that I'll say that I really like are that these hands are more like the Halo hands where they are formed. They are not like the Jazwares, or sorry, the Legendary series of Fortnite with the hinged fingers. Oh yeah, don't like those. So that's something they've got going for it. This is soft goods back here. Ghost Cape is soft goods as opposed to like a soft rubber plastic. I'm not a huge soft goods fan, but this kind of a hood, a cape, exactly whatever it is, it's, you know, a hiding fabric. Would have been worse had it been just a soft rubber. Would have limited the articulation, so that's kind of interesting. Something else I'm noticing here right away, I'm just kind of giving my first thoughts, because the whole idea of this is, are these worth your money? As a consumer, are these worth paying? What are these, like $20, $22? I don't remember exactly what they are, 20 to 25. Are they worth it for you? But something interesting I'm noticing here is, look at Ghost's tattoo. It's nice and bright on the arm, but suddenly you get into this, I'm not an expert on tattoos, but you get here to the inner elbow, and it's like crazy faded. It is very difficult to see, and it just looks like a bunch of ink smooshed around. You can't really see the details in that tattoo. So yeah, there we go, we're nitpicking right there. And even here on the back of the elbow, it's a little bit faded compared to this. Like I said, I'm not an expert on tattoo, but if this is faded and this is faded, would the rest of it not be a little bit more faded as well? I would think a more even, because over the course of time, I know tattoos do fade over time, from what I understand. Don't they kind of fade overall at a general even level? I don't really know. Y'all correct me. For all of you who know about tattoos, correct me. So I would say the articulation on these figures are not amazing. They're not bad, but I would say they're probably not amazing. So one thing that I noticed with at least this figure, I didn't really look on Ghost much, is there is a neck hinge that you might be able to see right there. It's not a cut in the back of the neck. It is a neck hinge. He can look down that far. He can look up that far. The head sits so low on the shoulders, that neck hinge is pretty pointless. He can rotate his head sideways and, hey look, now you can, kind of like a weird thing here, but he's got a little bit more articulation now with his head sideways. But the design of the head and how low it sits on these shoulders, which I think he needs a little bit more of a neck. Now, I don't know Call of Duty. I don't know this character. I don't know what he looks like. Maybe he looks exactly like this. Maybe I'll have to search up and pop up something here. So that way we all know. But I don't know exactly what he looks like, so it just looks odd. His head is so low on his shoulders that the articulation they built in doesn't do anything. He can bring his arms up this high. And I'll tell you this, I'm pretty happy. These have better, the structure of these figures are better than the first wave of Halo. So I really do appreciate that. The arms aren't popping off, like they're not coming off. This one, it's not like he's really loose. I mean, I'm really shaking it, so it's not like he's really crazy loose. But anyway, his arms go up, the arms rotate around. I don't see that this figure might have a little bit of a butterfly joint, but it doesn't do anything, not really. Rotation at the bicep. There is double pinless. This is pinless, by the way. There is a double pinless at the elbow, but golly, these upper elbows are very difficult. I'm going to have to heat this thing up because it's very difficult to move. There is a rotation and a hinge at the wrists. Now, one of the interesting things about military figures is that I know that, like, I'm not a huge military person. I don't know a lot about it. I've not been in the military, so I don't know the ways. But I see a lot of depictions, people and cosplayers and a lot of people where when they're holding a weapon, it's like down. They're like up by their chest and down or something. You can't do that with these military style figures. Their articulation at the wrist is back and forth, not up and down. And I would think for a figure carrying a gun that you would want the up and down motion. Let's take a look here at these other hands. So this is more of a closed grip, and it's horizontal. It's left to right, and it's very stiff anyway. This is, I think I said left hand. This is a right hand. Here is another left hand. It's kind of open, but again, it's also horizontal left to right. So there is no way to bring your wrist down like that. And I'm looking over here at Ghost, and same thing with Ghost. Ghost just kicked Alex's butt. Anyway, so that's interesting. It's just the horizontal. So some of you people who want really cool, like military-ish type figures, which truthfully, that's what I was in for. I thought, well, Call of Duty, that's kind of fantasy military. You know, there's potential for some really awesome stuff here. And that's as a non-game player. I was really looking forward to this. But they didn't do that kind of a joint. He's got a torso wiggle. It doesn't seem that there's any kind of like an ab crunch. It just seems like it's a rocker. So he goes over that far. He goes over that far. He leans forward that far. He leans back. Really cool. It's almost like the opposite of Halo. If I remember right, Halo leans like forward, but it can't go back because of the way they're built in. Now, one thing that's really cool about these figures, see, there's some positives here. One thing that's really cool is there's like all this detail on the web gear and the belt. Like you have pouches, you have canteens, more pouches, grenades. You got all this stuff all over, and it's kind of cool to look at. I like that. That's kind of neat. It really adds to this character, I think. And so if you want him to do the splits, he can mostly do the splits. This one pouch over here, which is a holster, kind of limits him. And to sit, I mean, you can do that. So he's got thigh rotations as well. However, I'm going to have to heat this guy up because out of the box, it not even, oh, wow. I finally loosened it. His legs have not wanted to swivel at all, and this one is still having trouble. And if I keep doing that, I just might break it. And I don't want to rebuy this figure, so I don't want to break it. double pinless knees, so he has a pretty decent range for that knee joint. There is no boot rotation that I can find. I would think one would naturally fit right there, but I can't find it. So there is a hinge and a pivot here at the ankle. Actually, he's like ninja level here. Like, he goes, like, for a military guy, he goes like way far back. I think this might be like Snake Eyes in disguise. I don't know. He goes forward really pretty good. And he's got toe articulation. I don't really care one way or the other about toe articulation. Some people like it, and some people can use it really well for toy photography. Cool for them. It's not something I really care much about. So if you can get this guy into a pose, he might not be as bad visually as has been depicted in, say, marketing materials or other YouTube videos or Instagram pictures. If you can get him into a decent pose, he still has some really broad shoulders though. So, truthfully, at this point, I would probably have passed on this figure because there's just some things that you can't unsee. You just can't unsee. How easy or difficult is it to... The fingers are kind of tight. I like the weaponry. I think the weaponry looks pretty cool. But with a, you know, look at the butterfly joint. You can't, it doesn't really go back and forth anyway. So butterfly joint would make holding weapons. So, okay, he can hold weapons. Can you pry his fingers open to hold? There we go. Wow, that's kind of an awkward pose. I mean, yeah, there you go. I mean, depending on the pose, depending on the angle, this figure can look good or this figure can look bad. If you're just looking at him straight on, he doesn't look so great. And that beard, I don't know. Let's see. Take a closer look at the face sculpt because, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't know if what was on the packaging was digital render or it was real. And you know, it might not have been a digital render. He's a very nice, even beard. The design of this head is a very angular, very square jaw look. I mean, his neck is sunk in to his shoulders there. And I just, maybe, you know, I know some people look like that. For an action figure, it's just not something I'm a huge fan of, just the way this looks. If it works for you, awesome, because ultimately it's your money and it's your collection, and if you like this brand, the Call of Duty brand, then you know what, maybe you'll look over it. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe I'm being too critical about some things because I don't really have a connection. I just want cool looking action figures, and this one is like 60% of the way there. A few little changes here or there, and hey, he stood. Whoa, cool. Good job, Alex. You know, see right there, he kind of doesn't look too bad. He kind of looks okay. At that angle, holding the weapon. Man of power. I can't say man of action, it's not really. But man of power or something, I don't know. Let's say well, there went that. He died. Leaning back. Okay, that was too far. There we go. There, now is that a more heroic pose? I don't know. Okay, so we have Ghost here, and he's got pretty much all the same articulation. We're going to take the hood off because we can. Now, let's look at Ghost here for a second. He's very different in the shoulder department. He's got a more slender torso, and I think he looks better. His head is not nearly as small on those shoulders as Alex, and maybe this is going to be a design from figure to figure, and like I said, maybe Alex is in-game the way he looks here the way he is in-game. I don't know. But Ghost, let's pop up what Ghost looks like in-game. I'll try to see if I can find something. If nothing appears over here, I didn't find anything except for I just killed him. He also has a pile of accessories, and I mentioned the same thing about the hands. They go from side to side, horizontal. He's got this open hand. He's got a fist. This is a right fist and a left open hand. He's got a small gun. He's got a radio. That's actually kind of neat. I like this. And this gun, which has two different colors, and I really like that. It gives some variety to it. And a few of these things that I really don't like, just build them into the guns already. I don't need little accessories to lose. And they don't add anything to my non-existent toy photography. Again, pinless joints. These vests don't come off as far as I can tell. They are built on. Now, his butterfly joints are interesting. They work a little bit more. However, one thing I'm noticing is they go forward, but then they stop, like straight on. They don't really go back. They don't have a full butterfly range, and I'm a little confused at why that is, because, you know, you could do some really neat poses if you have a full butterfly range. His arms goes up just fine, rotates at the bicep. Again, like the other figure, it's very difficult to... I'm pretty sure this is double pin. I'm pretty sure it's double pin. Maybe I'll have to watch someone else's video. Maybe it's not. Maybe it looks like it would be, because there's like a cut in there. Maybe these aren't, sorry, double pinless, but maybe the elbows aren't double. Maybe it's only single. I bet they're only single, just the way it rotates. I'm looking at this joint. That's kind of weird. So these, I think, are single pinless elbows. And for some reason, this camera really likes my hand at the moment. So we go and twist him around. He seems really loose on the upper portion here. You can twist him like all... Hey, he just like separated. Look at that. Now he's really loose. But his middle also, like what's going on here? So something... Oh, he's sliding apart. He's actually sliding apart there. That's interesting. So I'm just going to pull it apart. Look at that. So this makes me think of Kat from Halo, Spartan Collection Wave 1. I think she was the problem. She had the loose torso and I think popped off, right? So, yeah, that's interesting. This middle section is stuck up inside there. I don't know if I want to pull it out. Maybe designed to not really pull out, but So we'll hook that back on. All right, put it back on. Let's see, is that a thing? Yeah, well, yeah, we go back and forth enough times, and he's loose again. So, Ghost is a little bit loosey-goosey in that I can't come up with another word. So anyway, you might want to check your figure if you have it, or be aware that your figure, if you buy it, might have that. He leans back very well. Okay, look at that. He's loose again. I leaned him back and he loosened up. So there is something not real tight or secure with that ball joint. If you want him to sit, he can sit really well. If you want him to do the splits, it's about as good as he can do. And, you know, that's really all you need him to do. His thigh rotates very well. He has a double pinless knee. And that's really pretty good. That's pretty nice right there. And like the other, well, not like the other figure at all. He does have toe articulation, but he's got a ball joint shoved up in the leg, and it's one of those things I don't like. I don't like when they put a ball joint for long pant-legged legs, because then the ball joint can get off, and then the articulation isn't necessarily up and down, front to back, forward, and all that stuff anymore. So I already talked about the tattoo and so forth. I think the Ghost figure looks a lot better visually than Alex's figure. But again, I'll have to look them up. Did these go in here, maybe? Get them out of my way. I don't like those tiny accessories. So since this is a new figure line, it is customary to look at how these compare to other figures. So first off, we have a Master Chief from the same company, and golly, he is tall, but I believe he is like a 7-inch figure. So these do look between 6 and 6.5 inches. You can see actually that Ghost is shorter than Alex Mason, but I actually kind of like this one. And on a little side note, I know we're doing height comparisons. I was noticing as I was standing Ghost up here, his legs are kind of like, oh man, that was difficult to get him up there. Let's just stand up there, dude, and stay up there, please. Ghost seems to be difficult for me to stand, but I'm looking, his legs seem to be bowed a little bit. Alex's does not seem to be nearly as bowed, so I don't know if it was the way the figure was packaged, if maybe this is just something, or if everyone's is this way. So this is kind of interesting there to me. So anyway, but here is Master Chief, so you can get an idea, next to the Halo Spartan Collection. So here we have a Legendary Series Ghoul Trooper, so typically she'll be just a little bit shorter than the male figures, if I can get her to stand. Then we have a Big Brawlers Cyclo, so he's just a little bit taller. He's closer to that 7-inch, so you can see that these might fit well with the Fortnite action figures. A couple Mandalorian Star Wars Black Series figures, so they're just a little bit taller. They might not fit very well in that Star Wars universe. And a couple Marvel Legends action figures, so you can see that they stand just a tad taller, so they could be some larger. Ghost is actually really pretty good when you look at Black Symbiote Spider-Man over here. They look pretty good, so Alex may just be a taller guy. And we have a DC Multiverse figure, so you can see how tall he stands over him, and a John Cena wrestling figure. So they actually are pretty comparable height-wise. John Cena seems to be bent over just a little bit, but still, he's got some bigger arms and bigger legs, but hey, that's like real life. So you can kind of see how these two work. And finally, the only G.I. Joe Classified Series figure that I currently have access to is Shooter, and you can see how tall she is. The females tend to be just a tad shorter than the male figures, so the G.I. Joe male figures just might line up to about the same height as Ghost, but next to Alex Mason, well, Alex is going to be towering over G.I. Joe Classified. So here's one last look of these two figures all geared up. I put their weapons and their knives and all sorts of things on them so you could see what they really look like. Now, while this wasn't 100% positive and happy, I wasn't that way with the early 6.5-inch Halo Spartan collection either, but as that line blossomed and moved on over time, the figures did get a little bit better, and I have no doubt that these will be tweaked and we will get better Call of Duty action figures in the future from Jazwares, and I'm excited for that because I've been super hyped and super excited for this line, and I still am. I really am. I have excitement and hype and hope that we will be getting better things in the future. A lot of first waves usually have problems. And I expect that. But if people don't mention what we don't like about these things or the looks of them, the company doesn't know what we like and what we don't like. And so they can take this as very constructive criticism and, work towards a better product, because a better product will sell better and more of us will want them. And you don't want to put out a product that is less than awesome, I would say, especially nowadays. There's so many options for 6 to 7-inch tall action figures, so many options that I think you really do have to bring your A game these days. There's a lot of independent companies making awesome stuff that as a large company, you really truly have to bring that A game. So when the rest of these figures are released, or even Wave 2, I'm expecting really good things, really awesome things from Jazwares. Anyway, thank you for stopping by and thank you for watching. What do you think about these figures? Do you agree or disagree with any of the things I've said? I'd be really interested to know your take on these figures in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.